Hi, everyone. I'm Coach Michelle Quirk. I am a pediatrician, a run coach, and founder of Mindful Marathon, where I help make running easy and fun for busy professionals. Today, I have a very special guest with me. I'd like to welcome Matt Leocha to Mindful Marathon Conversations. He has a doctorate of physical therapy and is certified in neonatal touch and massage. He is a dad of 3 who really hasn't grown up, he says. He loves playing in the snow, building blanket forts, and firmly believes pancakes don't have to be round. And most importantly for us, he is an ultra marathoner. I know he is going to bring us a lot of insight and inspiration and motivation, so let's get to it. Welcome, Matt.
Good morning. Thank you.
Can you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your running journey.
Sure. So as Dr. Michelle Quirk said, my name is Matt Leocha. I am 36 years old. I've been running for, probably 18 years. I guess I should stop at some point.
No.
Not consecutively. So ever since probably middle school, I picked up the sport of running and have kind of stuck with it, both competitively through, school and college, and then just competitively against myself, I should say, setting goals against myself. And I struck out playing t-ball and wasn't picked for basketball. So, nobody was getting cut on the cross country team. So it sort of fit. So I find it fun just for exercise and getting out and doing something I enjoy.
All right, this is awesome. I think that we might have to have another episode because you probably have a ton of stories from before. But what I really wanted to talk about was this journey to the 100-mile race that you did and that whole thing. So tell us what made you decide to even go to the 100-miler? Like, had you run half marathons before that?
I never had run that distance in an event setting. Mm-hmm. And I never really had the desire to run marathons or half marathons, signing up and getting a race bib and all that. I think, before I had done some adventure races with my uncle and my aunt years ago, and that was, a combination of things like canoeing, mountain biking, running. So those are long events, yeah. But not just straight running. And it sort of started for 2 reasons. One, I've always wanted to get on the show Survivor. It's sad. It's really my only aspiration in life.
I remember you told me that. I forgot that part of the story.
Yeah. And I think over the past 2 years, I'd probably gotten as far as I would in that application process. At least I feel. I had gotten pretty far, and a casting director who left, my only contact left the company, CBS. So I sort of felt like, my chance was gone. So I needed another way to physically and mentally challenge myself. And I was searching for that. And I stumbled across 2 people online. I stumbled across a guy named Ryan Van Duzer, if you've heard of him, and Kerry Ward. They both have YouTube channels. And Kerry Ward had posted a 2.5-hour video of himself running the inaugural Moab 240-mile race. And I thought, if this 50-year-old can run 240 miles, I can run 100 miles. So that's kind of where it all started. And I just picked 100 because it was a round number. I had no idea, honestly, for as long as I had been interested in running, I had no idea 100-mile races, 200-mile races existed. And so I just thought, well, 100 miles is a nice round number. And that's where it all started.
This is awesome. To the people because I know that there were people who said, like, this is crazy, you're crazy. Why are you doing this? What was your answer to them? If you got that question.
Yeah, even while I was training, I would ask myself that. but I think the answer was I've never been super competitive against other people. You know, even when I was racing in track and cross country, I was less concerned about winning and more concerned about doing better than I did previously. So it was more, you know, a competition against myself. So I wanted to test myself and see how far I could push myself physically and in a 100-mile race, certainly mentally. So I think when people ask me that question, they were surprised to hear me say, well, I just want to see if I can do it,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Because you can, yeah.
slowly.
Okay, so set the scene. So this was 2019, right? The first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you did the training cycle. You get to the race. What is going through your head at the start line?
Yeah. So I should say that my training was not the only person that gave me advice was you. So
Okay.
I didn't read anything. I didn't follow like, you know, a month by month or a week by week thing. I sort of did my own thing and listened to my own body. I don't think I ran longer than 20 miles without stopping for training because I figured I would not be running 20 miles straight in the event,
Right.
you know. So other than getting very helpful pointers from you and things, my training was just a lot of consecutive running days and building up leg fatigue and telling myself even if I didn't feel like I could take the next step, I did. But yeah, so I got to the starting line and it was a small group of people, and you know the guy says, you know, you can start whenever. It's a very unceremonious, you know, start line. There isn't, you know, a countdown or a gun going off, and so then we just started. It was I think a half a mile of people showing off that they could run, and then we all started just to settle in to what our pace would be for what we could maintain.
Right. Okay. And now, so I remember I was texting Matt some cheering along the way, and he was doing fabulous. He was sending me texts at 50 miles that he was eating pizza, and I was getting a little nauseous, like thinking about that. But you were feeling fairly good, like up until that point, right? Like
Yeah, I
take us
think
to the middle of the race, maybe.
okay. So yeah, I tried to be I guess mindful or present every mile and just say, okay, how am I feeling? Do I have to go slower? What do I have to eat? What do I have to drink? I was pretty on a pretty good routine of drinking. So I used very little solid food for nutrition. I used the product Tailwind in my training and during the race, and it seemed to work really well. And so I would drink about 500 milliliters of Tailwind and 500 milliliters of water every hour.
Okay. I remember we did a lot of math to figure this
Yeah,
out.
yeah. And so I just stayed on top of that. And so I never, you know, the first half of the race never really felt hungry. And when I did, I just ate what I felt I wanted. At the aid station, things like grapes and M&Ms, you know, seemed to taste good. So I would grab those. And then, yeah, we got to a point where I was like, I'm pretty hungry. And I had some friends there and my cousin who had come to be kind of a support crew. And I said, guys, I want a piece of pizza. So they ordered pizza and I had a piece of pizza and it sat perfectly well. I mean, I will tell you this, I was not running at a speed that was, you know, really going to break any records or upset, you know, my stomach.
Right, right.
But
Well,
I was I'd never done that in training. So it was a step into the unknown, but it worked out just fine.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, pizza for the win. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So then take us to when things like weren't going as well. I know I hadn't heard from you in a while, and then it was getting to be nighttime and cold, and
Yeah. So that is the biggest thing I learned from the first race. The first 50 miles were wonderful, and it wasn't, I think it was a bit of a euphoria. I'm doing this. I don't have to, this is what I've been looking forward for a year, and I'm doing it, you know.
I love
So
that.
anytime I felt tired or, I wanted to sit down, I was like, what am I thinking? Like, this is what I wanted to do. So, as soon as it started to get dark was when, I started to get a little chilly. I did have some layers to put on, and the race was actually long. It was not 100 miles. It was more than 100 miles.
Ooh.
So I crossed the 50-mile mark expecting my cousin to join me and pace me. And I was like, that's gonna be great. We're gonna talk. He's gonna keep me going. And when he said, no, you've got another like 8 miles to go before your pacer can join you, I was like, oh man. So like that mental piece was
Yeah.
the first mental hiccup. And it really, that happened. And I started to get cold, and I was like, man, it's only like mile 50 something. I should be feeling like this at mile 90. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I finished that next leg. I had a pacer join me. I switched shoes, I think, which was good, which I didn't plan on, but I changed clothes. I mean, I changed everything. I couldn't untie my shoes. My cousin did that for me. It was cold. And then I just started to have things creep up, a little pain in my knee, and I couldn't quite lift my feet as high as before. So I was kind of stubbing my toes, and I got to the point where I couldn't really run more than maybe 20, 25 paces, and I had to walk. It was just a really odd feeling. And then I didn't want to hurt myself. I didn't want to, make a wrong decision and regret it. But I sort of said to my cousin, I said, I think this is it. And I had a lot on my mind. I had a friend who had flown in from Chicago, who I was taking to the airport the next day.
Oh
And
boy.
so I thought, like, Jesus, if I'm not done by noon, like, we aren't going to make his plane. And I had till 2, and I was getting close to the cutoff. Like, I might finish by 2. And I thought, well, Graham's going to miss his flight, and I got to get him there. We had an Airbnb I had to check out of. So I had all these things on my head that I was like worried about, and it all just piled up. And so I think it was like mile 71. I said, that's it. And I was fine with that. This is the furthest I'd ever run. And it was a good learning experience. And I handed your timer over, and I just said thanks for a good day, and that was it. It was pitch black, nobody was around.
What time was that? Like in the middle of the night, early
Yes,
morning,
it
I
was
guess.
probably 3 a.m.
Wow.
something like that.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I mean, but you ran like the equivalent of 3 marathons. I mean, this is
Yeah.
just amazing.
Walked. There was a good amount
Okay,
of walk.
yes, but running. I mean, it sounds like it was some mental mind roadblocks first, but then like physical stuff, and it it
And
was
it was
a
a
combo.
challenging course. It was in a
Oh
state
yeah.
park in New Jersey, and the description was there are sections with rocks and roots. And I've run around here. I live in Westchester, and there's trails.
Yeah.
This was, I mean, like, boulders and stuff that when your legs are tired to step over, it's agonizing. So
Yeah.
I think that I found myself getting frustrated, like, seriously, some sections with rocks and roots. Like,
The whole
there are
thing.
some sections without rocks and roots.
Yeah, exactly. I think a takeaway from what you were talking about from your training and from the race is that you really listen to your body like the whole way through. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of runners just kind of stick with the training plan and ignore stuff along the way. I've definitely done that.
Yeah.
And that was like a theme of the race too. And the fact that you were feeling things hurting and decided, it might not be, I could keep going, but is it worth the risk of what I might do to myself? I don't know. That
Yeah.
stands out to me.
Yeah.
As,
Yeah. I think in retrospect, it probably was an easy way for me to justify stopping, because I will say in what we might talk about coming up, it was not a pain-free event.
right.
But I definitely felt, I mean, I knew like something was not right. And I thought, I'm not going to be able, I mean, I might be able to finish, but it's not going to, I could do something horrible to my knee that was hurting, and I'll regret that.
Yeah. I maybe I should have asked this earlier, but when you started the race, did you think that you would finish it? Like,
oh yeah, I thought for sure. I thought I'd finish in 24 hours. I had 30 hours to finish.
wow.
I thought I can do this in 24 hours. That's a 15-minute mile.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, it was so naive of me to think that, but that's what this is about. It's, you learn, and it's about, with anything. No, I don't know what I was thinking. Who in their right mind thinks that 100 miles without stopping is going to be easy?
I don't know. Maybe it was better not to know, though.
In some
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I remember, so after you got home from that race, I remember saying to my husband, like, I know he's going to do it again. Like, I don't know how long it's going to take for you to regroup from it, but I knew that you were going to tell me you were going to sign up for another one. So how long did that take for you?
Yeah, probably one night's sleep. Yeah. I mean, I will tell you that I woke up, we got back to the place we had rented, and I went, I took a shower, went to bed. I woke up, and I'll be honest, when I woke up, I thought, man, I wish I wouldn't have stopped.
Wow.
So I knew I would try again.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Not even 24 hours.
No.
Okay.
I was okay with the decision I made, but I knew this was something I wanted to complete at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then fast forward, a lot of things happened and we had a pandemic start,
A pandemic.
Yeah. So tell us about your, second training cycle. I know there were some hiccups there too.
Yeah, there was one big hiccup. I tore my meniscus in my right knee in February or March of 2020.
Like a year ago.
So a year ago. And I had, it was weird. It was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. I was working with a patient kneeling, and I couldn't stand up, and it was locked. And so I had surgery. And in the follow-up appointments with the orthopedic doctor, he was like, so what do you do? What do you want to get back to doing? And I said, do you want me to be honest? And he said, yeah. I said, well, I like to run. And he said, okay, like what distances, And I said, well, I want to do a 100-mile race. I want to finish. And he said, train for it. Let me know how your knee feels. And so that was really the biggest hiccup. I got back to running about 2 weeks after that, and just slowly built back up. I think the summer with the pandemic, I had my kids, and I would take them places to bike, and I would run. And so I had the time to put in a lot of miles. And what worked for me, and I am not, I'll put a disclaimer out there, like nobody should listen to me about training for anything. They should listen to you or their own coach. But what worked for me was just consecutive days running, not one day going out and doing 30 miles, because A, I didn't have the time, and B, I didn't want to injure myself by overdoing it. So I just did a lot of consecutive days, 60 to 70 mile weeks, and just kept doing it. And I think, I'll say too, I'm very thankful for my wife who allowed me the time to do it and supported my desire to go on the weekends, you know, to run these events. And so I had the support there, and yeah, so that was my training.
I mean, you were able to build up, it's basically the principle of cumulative fatigue and
Yeah.
running on tired legs. So yeah. Okay. I love that. All right.
Yeah.
And now how about mindset?
I don't know if I meditate with the intent to sit down and meditate.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, when I'm running, I don't run with music.
Same.
I don't run. I just run. And
Yeah.
I might think about whatever. I might not think about anything. So I think in that regard, like when I'm running, it's sort of just, you get into this pattern of strides,
Mm-hmm.
and you can think about whatever you want or nothing, or yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my mindset was, I knew probably what I would feel like or what could happen. And so just saying, you know, this is what you'll do if this happens, this is what you can do if that happens. And if nothing, if it feels good, you're great. If something new pops up, then, you know, you'll at least have the training behind you to, you know, give yourself some confidence that you can get through it. So I signed up for the same 100-mile event.
Mm-hmm.
And I was under the impression that it would be at the same location. So I did a lot of training on terrain around here that was similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, really steep, rocky terrain, lots of elevation. And so I sort of, prepared myself. Like, this is what it'll be like. This is what, you know, you're going to be faced with. So let's get out and do it, that sort of thing.
But then, of course, they changed the site because of the pandemic.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, tell us about that.
They couldn't get a permit to use the state park in New Jersey. So it was at a state fairgrounds, which is much different.
Yeah.
It was a 6.25-mile loop. Probably 4 miles of it were trail or rail trail-ish.
Okay.
Flat.
Yes.
And then about 2 miles or so were paved. Okay. So it's totally different than what I had trained for. So that was a little curveball. You probably knew I was a little disappointed.
Yes.
But I'm glad they still had it.
Yeah. It's still 100 miles, whether it's, you know, in the state park or not. But
this time, my cousin and I, we had pizza the night before.
Crazy pizza. All right.
I like pizza.
All right.
We had pizza the night before. We camped. And then, you know, you wake up and the starting line's right there. And I think it's Run New Jersey Series, or I can't remember the name of the race company, but the race director's, you know, really, really interesting guy. He's like, you guys can go whenever, you know, so we're all just standing there, and you just kind of take off. And so there were a couple distances that all started together. There was a 100-mile, 100K,
wow,
50-mile marathon, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a good group of people. So we just went off and you know, started going. And so again, I had the goal of my goal was to finish, just to finish.
Yeah.
I wanted, and then if I could do that, I wanted to do it in under 24 hours. I never really felt that I wasn't going to finish.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the hardest, if I can say anything to anybody who's going to do an event that starts when the sun is coming up and is still going on when the sun is going down, is those nighttime hours are the hardest. And as soon as that sun went down, it was tough to, you know, because you can't see, all you see is this little white dot in front of you, when before you could look around and see the trail and you could see things. And so it really narrowed my world. And that was the toughest thing for me, to go into the nighttime hours again. And just, it feels like, you know, 6 miles drags on for 60, you know? So my cousin was pretty instrumental at night. He was there the whole time. He was my crew the whole time. He was awake, never slept, and then he ran the last 50 miles with me and filled everything. Made me a cup of noodles, made me everything I needed. So like having
Amazing.
somebody like that is so valuable. And so and he understood because he kind of got into the whole running thing too. Um, Even before my first 100, I told him what I was doing. He's like, "Wow, that's cool." So he got into it, and then yeah, it was the middle of the night. Um, started off on my next lap, and I get this wonderful, inspirational video that my wife had put together with people from who I hadn't even talked with in years. I mean, you were one of them who was close, but I mean, just people from like high school and my old neighbors and people from PT school, and she had gotten them to send like, "Hey, good luck, we're thinking of you." And I really needed that at that moment because that was like mile 80,
Oh
and
my
I
gosh.
thought like. I need something, and just nutrition wasn't cutting it. And my cousin just kept saying, you can do it, you're strong, you can keep going. And so that was, that really gave me enough, wind in my sails to keep going.
Yeah.
And I had a hard time running. I probably walked for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I just could not like turn my gait over. And then this sounds so silly because it matters. It weighs nothing. It's so meaningless, but Strava stopped working.
Oh.
Um, and I carried my dumb phone the whole time. And I had a pack and everything,
Yeah.
but like I carried my phone for this reason to like track it, and it stopped working. And I was just like so upset. And my cousin was like, "Forget about it. Like, don't even worry about it. Like, nobody needs to know." And that's the thing. Like, nobody's there. There's no crowd. There's no huge crowd cheering,
Yeah.
for you at like, Broad Street or Boston Marathon. And I told my cousin when he played that video that my wife had put together, I started to cry. And he's like, "Well, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I didn't do this event for anything other than proving it to myself. And these people sent all this, these wonderful things. And I didn't do it for recognition." He said, "Matt, nobody does this for recognition." There's a guy who finished the 100K at like 2 a.m. and nobody was there. You run 60 miles and you cross the line, and the race director's like, "Great job, you're done." Like, nobody's there to like
Yeah.
clap for you or give you a congratulations. So it mattered nothing that Strava would have worked or not worked, but it gave me a real low point.
Yeah.
Um, and finally, my cousin was like, "Don't worry about it." So then we just kept going. And when the sun started to come up, I started just to feel a little better, a little bit warmer every inch that sun came over the horizon. And then it was just a matter of finishing. I think the sun came up, and I had maybe 2 or 3 laps left. And then it was, I could have gone the whole day. I mean, when I crossed the line, and I probably could have kept going, but it
Yeah.
just felt good to finish.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So
I
I
mean,
think my
I just,
final time was like 27 hours, 16 minutes, something like that, which I was happy with.
yeah.
Um, I remember my cousin and I would run 100 paces, walk 100 paces,
Hmm.
or we'd get to 100 and he'd say like, "Come on, you can do 50 more." I'm like, "All right, let's do 50." Just got to take it in
Little
chunks,
things.
because everything exists in like a 3-foot circle that your headlamp is showing you. So nothing else exists when it's that dark. And so, yeah, just taking it chunk by chunk, I think worked. And understanding too that there are highs and there are lows. Like I think I hit some good, pretty low lows on the first time around and just let it get to me.
Yeah.
And the second event, I hit some lows and I was very emotional, which I'm not too emotional on a normal day. But so I hit some lows and I thought, well, I can only go up from here,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Give us if you could give us like 3 of your best tips for some of us mortal runners who have not run 100 miles.
Well, I think if so for training wise, I think just practice does make perfect. So I would run and I would, I use the tailwind. So I would go out for runs with that, and I figured out what's my favorite flavor, or how much you and I worked on how much I need each hour or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So at least your nutrition is covered, because yeah, I think I burned somewhere in the, like, 30,000 calories or something crazy, so you're always in a calorie deficit. So you need to have good nutrition um, to really keep your body going. So practice with that. Don't do what I did, and I mean, listen to your body, right? But I'm not sure if pizza for everybody at like mile 50 is a good thing. But sometimes you have that craving and you gotta almost listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think having good support. I know my wife, like I would text her and I would be like, hey, I'm feeling good, and I would call her and I'd see the kids and they're like, what do you, how are you doing? How are you doing? And I'd say, I'm doing fine. I'm this far in. And, I just think having support around you, whether it's a coach, a support crew, your family to support you is, it gave me extra reason other than just proving it to myself. My kids knew I was there, and my wife had sacrificed to take them for the weekends. And then really for me, when it comes down to running or racing an event, is just to enjoy it. Don't I think a lot of people get very competitive with people around them, meaning like, oh, this person passed me, I want to, and maybe that's why they're running, they want to win or they want to finish in the top 10.
Yeah.
For me, it's more just like, I want to go out and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like, some of the things I would like to do, like that Moab race is not, Courtney Dauwalter won that by 10 hours. Now, she probably didn't enjoy the scenery, but like, if I got something like that, I'd want to go and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I think going and enjoying, and just enjoying the pain of that event.
Mm-hmm.
Doing 100 miles or even a marathon. I mean, if you're running a marathon, it's probably uncomfortable. But that's all part of it. You can't complain that it's uncomfortable, because this is what you signed up for. So when I was in the middle of like having to stop and stretch, or like my legs felt like jello and I was like, I can't run, I can walk, I just told myself, like, 2 weeks ago, this is where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I'm here right now, so I gotta just enjoy it. So that's what I would say. Know your nutrition. Practice makes perfect with that. Have good support, whether it's family or coaching or a crew at an event like this, and then just enjoy the whole process.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to listen back and pull out all of these great like mantras and things you told yourself. I know that you weren't thinking of them like that, but there's a lot of really great ones in here.
Yeah, I think, and my cousin afterwards, he had said, I was like, man, my legs, like there were so many times in the last 25 miles where I just walked and I stopped and I would like stretch my hamstrings and my quads, and they just felt, they felt like jello. And he would just say to me, he's like, the one thing I just kept telling you is, you're strong, you can do this. He's like, I didn't know what else to say. That's the only thing I could say. So that's one mantra we sort of kind of have between each other, is that, whether mental or physical, emotional strength, or just spiritual strength, when you need it in those moments, like, you're strong.
Yep. One of my friends had one, which we said to each other in the marathon, because we were running together, is strong legs, strong heart, strong mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that you said running the race is really for yourself to see that you can do it. But would you say that's your why, or it's more the enjoyment of it?
Yeah,
or something different?
I think it's sort of a combination of both. Um, I think I've always enjoyed running as a form of exercise. So like if I got up and ran, 5 miles, it was just, hey, that's how I'm going to like stay healthy.
Yeah.
But I think why I got into ultra marathon distance was, um, yeah, a personal test and a proof that I can do that. I can I can push myself through the mental lows, through the physical pain, um, and really find out what I'm made of. Because, as I said before, I something I've wanted to do um, for as long as I can remember, get on Survivor, and I probably won't happen. But that would, to me, was like, that's the test. You go 39 days, you're on an island, and you have these crazy challenges, and you have people are trying to vote you off. So I thought, well, this is my test now. So that's it for me. I want to test myself. I want to push myself. I want to, and I think in that you have to find enjoyment, because if you're not enjoying something you're doing, then it's probably a waste of your time. And people have different things they enjoy. I mean, maybe it's biking or swimming or, um, like I said, art class or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
and I don't know, as I've gotten more into it, there are a lot of things I'd like to try within this ultra distance, and there's a lot of distance or trails events that aren't races. Like there are, the Wonderland Trail that goes around um, Mount Rainier,
Yeah.
and things like that you just go out and see, and so you take your family and you can do it, and so it really, I don't know.
Yeah. That sounds lovely. You certainly make me want to try an ultra at some point. So we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
you can do it.
Oh, thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I think we're going to end on that note. But
Okay.
this interview, I mean, this was full of so many great things and a lot of parts of the story I hadn't heard. So
Really?
I thank you for taking the time and sharing this with all of us.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you
Um,
for, I can say, and I don't know if you put this on your website, but you'd had excellent advice for me going into my first 100-mile distance, both on the training side, on the mental side, and you were, always excited to see how the training was going. You never seemed bored when I said anything about my training. You were definitely excited, and I appreciate that. And I think as a coach, that's important. You gave a lot of personal time to me, and I'm sure you had other athletes you were working with. So,
oh, well, I appreciate that. All right. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening, everybody. And we will talk to you soon.
okay.
That was an awesome conversation. Thank you so much to Matt Leocha for joining us and taking the time to talk to us. I hope that you are all as inspired as I am after listening to his story. Please like our video and subscribe to the Mindful Marathon YouTube channel. And you can find me, Coach Michelle, on my website, mindful-marathon.com. I would love to work with you. Please schedule a call with me and we can talk about your running goals. Thanks so much and talk to you soon.